Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. Andrea Syrtash is today's guest. She is a relationship expert and the founder of pregnantish.com, the first media site exclusively dedicated to helping singles, couples, and LGBT navigate fertility treatments and infertility. A regular on-air personality, Andrea's hosted television shows for Oprah's Own, Discovery, and Fox, and regularly appears as a guest expert on TV and radio shows across the country. She's the author of popular books, including He's Just Not Your Type, and that's a good thing, and Cheat on Your Husband with Your Husband, published by Penguin Random House. Andrea frequently speaks about how to improve relationships, most recently at the TEDx Makers Conference, and is the host of the Pregnantish Podcast. She is committed to breaking the taboo of infertility and elevating the conversation about what it takes to start a family for millions of people today. Listen in as we talk about relationships as they relate to fertility, as well as how to pave your path to parenthood, no matter what that looks like. Now let's welcome Andrea to the show. Today's show is sponsored by Temp Drop. Identify your fertility window in real time with Temp Drop. Hey, Andrea, welcome to the show. I am so excited to talk to you today.
Oh, me too. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, for sure. So tell our audience a little bit more about you. How did you start working in women's health, and what was the mindset behind creating Pregnantish?
Well, I've been in the media and publishing almost my whole career. So I was originally not in women's health or fertility at all. I was, and still am, publishing about relationships and helping people relate better. So I'm an author of a number of books on that note. And I was doing a lot of the media rounds, on the morning shows like Good Morning America, Today Show, and such, helping people relate better. And I started in about year 4 or 5 of my struggling to get and stay pregnant behind the scenes. I started to pitch the idea to producers and editors I was working with of how infertility impacts relationships. And I was saying, this is the greatest, most underreported relationship challenge of our time. And this was years ago. And a lot of responses were the same. That's kind of depressing. Or a few producers said, well, we had Dr. So-and-so on before, so we don't need to talk about this. And I'd say it's not just a medical issue, it's a lifestyle issue. It impacts lifestyle in the deepest way. And I just started to get frustrated that the storytelling was left to just one side, the medical side, which is so important. But I knew there was a much bigger story here. So as a content person, as a producer, as a relationship writer, I launched Pregnantish almost 5 years ago as the first non-medical platform in the category to focus on the storytelling of modern family building, infertility, to help support people better through the process. And I hired a professional content team right away. I knew that, there were great blogs. There still are great blogs. But I knew I wanted to have professionally sourced, curated content for this really thoughtful audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went live as the first lifestyle platform in the category. And that came out of my own personal experience. And it's so long to explain my personal experience, but the short version is I did about 18 fertility treatments over almost 8 years. I now have a 2-year-old daughter that my first cousin delivered. So my genetic embryo from 2016 was transferred into her in 2018. So I had a pretty epic path to parenthood. And
Wow.
but I created Pregnantish in year 5 of my struggle. I did not know how my story would end. So I was smack in the middle of infertility, trying to figure out my ending when Pregnantish went live. And I think that's relevant because that's where so many of our audience lives. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
that's a bit about me, and probably longer than than the
No.
short version you wanted.
Yes,
Yeah,
I love that. And I remember finding Pregnantish. My struggle started about 5 years ago when we were trying to it started 7 years ago. And then with my second, I remember finding your platform, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I was like devouring everything I could get my hands on. So I
that's
love it.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so crazy how our stories do kind of shape, our paths in life. And so many of us in the fertility space, we started because of our own struggles, and then we kind of moved forward so we could help others. So I love that you told us that story. So thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's always nice that I think this is a community. We get each other so deeply right away. And people who haven't been through this chapter often mean well, but just don't understand how deep it runs. So I also appreciate that you started your work because of your experience.
Yes. And that's what frustrated me so much, is because they didn't, I couldn't talk to my friends. My husband was tired of hearing about it. My doctor was like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I was just like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let me be my own advocate.
Yes.
So yeah, for sure. So talk to me a little bit more about, the relationship impact of fertility and infertility. You kind of alluded to that earlier, but let's dive into that a little more.
Sure. Well, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone listening who's struggled with getting or staying pregnant, that it impacts every relationship you have, not only the relationship to if you have a partner, and if you don't, that's a whole other thing to navigate if you're single and dating, or not even dating, just trying to do it on your own. But it also impacts relationship with friends. We get a lot of questions at Pregnantish about feeling like guilty or a bad friend for wanting to skip a baby shower of your best friend. I mean, these are very complex, real emotions that come up. It impacts the relationship we have with our families, our communities, our workplace, and of course, our relationship with our own selves and bodies. And so I think it's very much a relationship issue, and it challenges relationships in the deepest way. The good news is the research I've done and others have done shows overwhelmingly that relationships do not break up because of infertility long term. In fact, they can become stronger. If you break up because of a life challenge like infertility, the research shows that you are likely to break up over another life challenge that inevitably is going to come up, because this is life, right? So it doesn't break couples up. And a lot of people say that. It's actually not true. But it challenges and rocks relationships. That absolutely is true.
For sure. So how do we navigate that? So what are some things that we can do to make sure that our relationship isn't rocked as much? Obviously it will be some, but how do we navigate so that it's not life altering?
Yes. I mean, I think that we just have to consciously, first of all, admit to ourselves that we don't have to go at it alone. That's the first good step,
Yes.
because and I know how isolating this process can be. I think another big tip I often have for couples is to not expect your partner to be your sole support, because he or she is also going through something. And it may look, grief looks very different on different people, and it may look different the way your partner's processing it. This goes for people in same-sex relationships or, all across the board. If you're sharing this experience with someone, you may need your own separate outlets, which is why a coach like you, or support from church or synagogue, or from a therapist, a social worker, wherever you find it, or a good friend that is supportive. Wherever you find it, get that help and know who your point people are. I can't stress that enough. So many women, especially, we like to kind of get everything done and do things and help people, and we don't always get it for ourselves. So that's one of my biggest tips. And the other thing is, my general relationship advice my whole career has been, when communication breaks down, relationships break up a lot. So we want to keep the lines of communication open. We want to check in with our partners and say, you don't have to tell me everything, but I just want to do a temperature check. Like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Share in this way, share your vulnerability, because you're both vulnerable. And the final thing I'll say is, continue to connect as lovers and partners if you're in a committed relationship, not just as people trying to make a baby. It's great to hook up when you're not in fertile windows, and remember that you're more than this. I think couples get so, it's so overwhelming and all encompassing that you forget you have a full life outside of this goal. And so it's really important to have relationship space together when you're not ovulating and focused on baby making.
Yes. I always say, let's have sex because it's fun and because we love our partner, not because we're trying to make a baby.
Yeah. And love making and baby making are different. Procreative sex is different. So I think that's great. I'm a big fan of that.
Yes. Yes. And I think I heard you say this one time and I really loved it. I heard on another interview, and you said, ask your partner what it is they need. Just ask them. And I thought that was so brilliant, because I feel like sometimes when we're in it, we forget, let's just talk to our partners and ask for what we need, and they'll give it to us.
100%. And there's also research that shows, I will say, like, there are jokes about how men and women communicate differently, but at the end of the day, we're not that different. But we do, as women, sometimes expect our partners to mind read, and just being direct with what you need or what would be helpful, and not in a defensive way, and not in a way that attacks your partner. Why don't you ever do blank? I need it. Not in that way. More like, what's really awesome when you do blank. That's a great way to frame it. That is very powerful. And so you checking in that way, bringing the fun back, saying, let's not think about this tonight. Those are also important moments. Let's have a date night. Let's go for a walk. Let's get it on, whatever it is.
Right.
Let's just not talk about this tonight. Those are also important moments. So kind of both, playing with both sides in your relationship can be helpful.
Yes. I love that. Love it. So let's talk myths. What are some myths you hear around fertility and relationships?
Oh my goodness. Well, a huge myth we've all heard is, if you just relax, think positively, it'll work. That one used to make me want to slap people, because the people who told it to me were way less optimistic than I am. Like, these are people, I'm a self-help author. It's what I do. And I'm like, really? You're telling me how to think? I mean, that is amazing. And it is a disease. This is a disease. I was diagnosed with endometriosis when I was 14. I had fibroid tumors, everything impacting my fertility, which is why I needed a gestational carrier. But no amount of positive thinking is going to unblock my tube. So thank you and no thank you.
Right.
I think a big myth is that we can control a lot with our, with just having a sunnier attitude. I think another big myth is that it's all about age. I mean, age does matter. We know that egg quality declines every year, especially over 35. That's real. And yet our average audience at pregnantish, the average age is 33. Like I said, I was diagnosed at 14. We started trying when I was young-ish, and basically this is not just an age issue. It's a medical issue. So I think there's just a million misconceptions flying around. And by the way, there's also an age misconception on the other side when we see Halle Berry on a magazine cover sporting a baby bump at 49 or 50 thinking, oh, that could be us, like we don't get the full picture of how people become parents all the time. And it can be very damaging to other people struggling and I don't blame anyone, it's no one's business how Halle Berry had her babies. So that's her business. And yet, when media splashes a 50-year-old on the cover and says, oh, she got pregnant at 50, like without us knowing the backstory, it's not always helpful. So I just think there's a lot of work to be done in terms of debunking myths.
For sure. Those were some great ones, though. So thank you for that. Well, I would love to know a little bit more about, you've done so many amazing interviews. You've been in media, like you said, for years. So what was a couple of your favorites and why?
Just in general in media or with pregnantish? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm sorry, with pregnantish.
With pregnantish, I think one of the most meaningful. So the day, I just want to give you a quick backstory of how I came out of the infertility closet, because that led to all the media. So I posted a Facebook update in early 2017, in January 2017. Happy New Year. And I'm launching this platform, Pregnantish, and I shared everything I'd been going through. And I said, I know some of you reading have been through this, and I've been searching for a content site that I've hopefully created and a community that I've hopefully created. And I just said, and I know people are reading and some of them are being touched by this and they can't tell anyone or they haven't told anyone, and you're not alone. And I said, my body's been so bruised, but my heart's been more bruised. It was just super vulnerable. And the last line of the post, and this was just to my Facebook friends, I should tell you, the last line of the post said, so don't judge a Facebook by its cover, because my cover was me. I had just hosted a TV show and my cover was that. And I just wanted people to know, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes with people. And within minutes, I was inundated with emails and people started saying, make this public. This is so needed. Make this public. So I gulped and I pressed public, which I don't usually do on Facebook. And I woke up to media requests, and I always tell this story, but I think it's quite amazing that within 24 hours, Bravo and New York Magazine and ABC News and the Toronto Star, I had so many media requests that we weren't even launched at Pregnantish. My Facebook post was saying, I'm creating this thing. It's in beta. It's coming in April. So we were totally behind, and we weren't like ready for the big time at all. But the reason that's a relevant story to me isn't just to show off, like, look at all the media we've done. It's more that I was really coming out in the biggest way. And that, oh my goodness, even 5 years ago, there was nothing like what we were doing. I mean, and Resolve's always been great in there, and they're a great advocacy organization, and blogs have always been there, and they're awesome. But like what we were doing was different. And I think people quickly caught on to that. So that was really meaningful, just the collective media that organically picked this up. And my most kind of memorable story was the one in People, because, or maybe Good Morning America, but both of those went deeply into my family backstory of why why I wanted to use my platform to share, and why this is such a high value thing. I mean, I always say, like, this is not a cupcake. No offense to cupcake blogs or cupcake sites. But what we're doing is not like, it's not like about hair products, which I know are, important to people. We are talking about literal life, people. Like, this is the highest. I have covered relationships for a long time. There's no higher value for a lot of people than relationships and family. And this is what we're talking about. So just to shine a spotlight, anytime I get a megaphone, I mean, Pregnantish is a media site. We give other people the floor, and you do on your podcast. That's amazing. Anytime broadcast media picks us up, I'm just applauding, because we need to destigmatize this. It's happening to so many people.
I agree 100%. And like you said, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, when I was going through my struggles, there was no social media, Instagram, podcasts, none of that. So I love that we've come so far, but we still have so much longer to go.
Yes,
So,
100%.
yes, I love it. Well, we are going to take a short break and hear a word from our sponsors, and we're going to come back in and talk more practical tips around optimizing fertility and paving our path to parenthood, whatever that looks like. So we will be right back. Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. I am super excited to introduce you to today's sponsor, TempDrop. TempDrop gives you everything you need to effortlessly track your fertility. Wear the TempDrop sensor while you sleep for accurate basal body temperature readings without the stress of early morning wake-ups. TempDrop's accompanying app enables you to chart an array of symptoms alongside your BBT, including cervical mucus and OPKs. Combine these fertility signs all in one place to identify your fertile window and to confirm ovulation. Whether you're trying to conceive, are avoiding pregnancy, or want to chart your health for other reasons, TempDrop makes fertility awareness accessible to all women, even if you don't have a regular cycle or sleeping pattern. Visit www.tempdrop.com/puzzle for 15% off your order. Hey, Andrea, welcome back. Thanks so much for being here.
Happy to keep chatting.
Yes. So let's dive into more practical tips. And so talk to me about, maybe 2 or 3 things. If parents are trying naturally, like where do they start?
Well, I think, in terms of natural, and I'm not a medical expert. I just want to preface by saying that. But we all know that, taking care, self-care, which can look like what we're putting in and on our bodies, matter. I've never been so conscious, and it can't unblock tubes like I was saying in segment 1, but it's certainly, I think all doctors would agree, taking care of your body is only going to help the process, because when your body's in good check, you're going to be able to handle the hormones better. If you have to be on hormones, you're going to have an easier experience trying to conceive in general. So I think, mind, body, spirit, kind of taking a pause, to taking a beat to look at what you can do in each category to maximize your mental health, your physical health, and your emotional well-being, and kind of having a plan of action around all 3 things is the first step. There's a lot of tales out there about pineapple cores and,
Right.
Oh my goodness, McDonald's French fries. Who the heck knows? I think, some people get pregnant when they're eating terribly, where I will say there's a lot of people who are pregnant around this country who are not doing that. But for those of us a little more challenged, just being mindful of superfoods for fertility, they definitely exist. And just things that make us feel better in our bodies, because our bodies go through a lot when we're trying to conceive. What do you think? This is something you do a lot, so I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with you. I think, giving our body things that it needs to thrive and to be optimal. So that means balanced whole food nutrition. I don't subscribe to any one diet. I just want you to eat balanced nutrition, whole foods that come from the earth and not from a package. I want you to, be mindful of your self-care and taking care of yourself to minimize your stress, not to just relax, because I freaking hate when people say that, but just to fuel your soul and that feminine energy, and just to be happy. Do things that make you, bring you joy and that cause you to be happy. And then definitely agree with the environmental, watching kind of what goes on your body. Obviously, you can't, organic product your way to a unblocked tube, like you said, but it does help. And overall health is going to benefit from, being more holistic and organic driven products and food.
Yeah, 100%. And that goes for men and women, of course. I think men are so often left out of this storytelling, and men, what makes an embryo? Sperm and egg. So I don't know why they're left out. So
right.
the males watching their health and well-being can radically change their sperm we've seen that. So just being holistic in terms of the thinking of health in your household.
For sure. And then let's talk about, your path to parenthood is different for everybody. And so, talk to me a little more about some practical tips if you're single or if you're, LGBTQ. What are kind of some places we could start thinking about our path to parenthood?
Well, I think, third-party reproduction, which is something that singles and LGBTQ and people like me had to access. So third-party reproduction means sperm donation, egg donation, embryo donation, or surrogacy. I was obviously gestational surrogacy, which means my embryo, another uterus. There's also traditional surrogacy which is less and less common today, but where, you're not connected to the genetic baby that the surrogate's carrying. But LGBTQ and singles are definitely accessing third-party reproduction. And I think it can be very overwhelming to get into these relationships, whether or not it's blind, like an anonymous donor situation, for instance, which you're going to have that choice when you're signing up to work with an egg or sperm donor. You choose if you want it to be, or the donor chooses anonymous or open, with the possibility of connecting ahead. So that's like the first big decision. Then you also what do you look for? I mean, one reason we created Pregnantish is to have articles on what did I look for when I went through egg donation. We've published a lot on that, topic, because that's just not an easy, again, it's arguably one of the biggest decisions of your life.
For sure.
And like crickets when you look for information. So I think one of the best things I ever heard actually on our Pregnantish podcast from someone who used an egg donor, her name's Kelly. She's an amazing woman. She went through menopause at 24.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she's an incredible person, but she got great advice when she was looking for an egg donor. The agency she worked with said, stop focusing on all the things you're looking at, because at the end of the day, some people aren't even telling the truth about their history or their, it's like a dating profile. You don't know everything they're telling you. But think about who you'd want to have a beer with. That was the advice. And I just love that because that just simplified it for her. Like, who would she want to hang out with as a friend? That was a great place for her to start. Another person on my podcast named Selena picked a sperm donor. She was a single mom by choice. She's now married. But at the time when she was a single mom by choice at 36, she was not. She went with who made her laugh in the profile. Because, and also who seemed she just felt like feels like an authentic person. He's not being too showy. He's not showing off. So we all have different criteria that's going to connect with us when we read a profile or hear a voice or look at a picture. But I think the biggest advice that I've heard from people who have used egg or sperm or embryo donation is don't overthink it, because you can have a genetic baby and he or she may be nothing like you, look nothing like you anyway. And that's like my daughter is my genetic baby. She looks like a carbon copy of my husband. So it doesn't even matter that my egg, you know what I mean? It's not like your baby comes out being a carbon copy of you anyway. So you really want to, but you want to find a donor and in my case as an intended parent with a surrogate, you want to connect on just a visceral level with the person to say I could maybe be your friend. I don't know that much about you, but I like what I've read or heard. I think that's just a really good litmus test.
Yeah, I love that. And that's funny you say that about your daughter, because my two sons look exactly like my husband, literally carbon copies of my husband, nothing. I'm like, was I even the mother? Where did these kids come from?
I know. It's just so weird when that happens.
Yeah.
And I think, and Kelly actually has an egg donor baby, and everyone constantly, she doesn't think of it that way, but that's just the reality. And everyone always tells her they look alike. And her daughter has blue eyes. And Kelly has blue eyes, but Kelly's husband has brown eyes. So the baby came out kind of looking like Kelly. And she doesn't always explain it's not actually my genetic baby, but that's great.
Right.
So, just never know. So not to overthink it.
I love that. And I don't know if you're familiar with this platform, but I had the CEO on my podcast recently, but they're called Ghost Stork, and it's an egg donation database.
Yes.
Yes, I loved that platform. It's such a great needed service.
Yeah, I think there are so many great services because the reality in this category, and that's awesome. The reality in this category is inventory, for lack of a better word, is always hard for the agencies because there's more intended parents than people sometimes who want to be donors. But this country also has a shortage of, not a shortage. They have an abundance of embryos that are stored. And and I know when you go through IVF, you have to fill out what do you want to do with your embryos if you have any additional embryos. And some people donate them now. So that's another path that's very new that I think people don't always know about as a potential option.
I love
Yeah.
that. And it's so needed. And so I'm glad we're shedding light on that because more people need to know about it for sure.
I think so. And I think I don't ever want to simplify, all of this because these are massive steps. And also you have to think about if your child wants to connect with the person in the future, how can you handle that? And that's the same for adoption or any time you build a family with help. That's going to be something you have to think about. So just to have really honest talks with yourself, with your coach, with your therapist, with your partner before you embark on this is helpful. And most agencies require you to go through therapy as you're going through third party reproduction for that reason.
Yes.
And that's great. I think that's great.
For sure. Me too. I was going to say, and as they should.
Yeah, as they should.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And talk to me a little more. I know you have a program called Real Talk Series for healthcare providers. Tell us what that is and why did you launch that?
Thank you. Well, I just, running pregnantish, I'm friends with obviously I hear from patients every day, fertility treatment patients or people trying to conceive. I also am friends with a lot of fertility specialists and doctors and practitioners. And I was feeling like both sides were kind of complaining about the same things. The patients were like, I need to find a new clinic. I'm so frustrated. And the doctors were saying patient retention is an issue. And I know if someone sticks with this, I can get her pregnant, but she's leaving too soon or, and of course, cost is a major barrier. But in general, I was just hearing this from both sides. And I thought, you know what? I think we should run a nationwide survey, which we did, called Why I Left My Fertility Clinic, and get the data points to show. And I knew as a relationship author that relationships were probably the number one reason people were leaving a practitioner. But I needed the data points to be able to prove it. So we got almost 1,100 responses from patients. And we launched this nationwide program called Why I Left. And I got grants, educational grants from Cooper Surgical and EMD Serono just to be able to launch this program and run, for free. It's nonprofit. We're not making money from this. I just really wanted to give back to the community because there are a lot of pregnantish.verified.com is where you could find out more about it. But there's just a lot of pain in this community, not just with patients, with the clinics too. They are sad when patients leave or patients are frustrated or transfers don't work. I mean, you wouldn't believe, I remember Dr. Richland, who's one of our speakers, and Dr. Chen, who's one of our speakers. They're both great fertility specialists. I mean, they get emotional when they have to tell a patient that a transfer failed. It's just not a perspective we think about a lot. And because it seems like all money, it seems like, oh, it's so expensive, it's so transactional. So just to bring the human face to healthcare providers, I wrote a 50-page report called Why I Left My Clinic because I'm an author. So I did that.
Right.
And we created this dynamic video series with members of our Pregnantish Verified network of fertility advocates. We created a 10-part video series. And now we're doing it around the country. I mean, Dr. Griffith in Texas is doing it on May 11th for his fellows and for his staff. And Dr. Lamb in Seattle is doing a course at the end of May. And why this is exciting to me is they are speaking to healthcare providers about what patients need. This is awesome.
Wow.
So that you can find out more, if you have show notes, of course, pregnantish.verified.com. But I'm really passionate about it because we want to change the face of fertility in so many ways. And that's one way, hopefully we can.
For sure. I love that. Such a needed things. That's amazing. Thank you for creating that.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. And, the community, and you're in it. The community is so thoughtful and amazing that, like I always say, pregnantish is not a blog and it's not about me. It's about the voice of today's patient. It's about real talk about fertility, and it's about community storytelling and feedback and voices. So we are not like, I just want to make that clear because I'm the guest and I'm the one running pregnantish in some ways, but it's not about me at all. Like that platform's really not my story.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yes. And so talk to me a little more. I know you guys just had a really dynamic program for National, I don't like to say infertility too much, so National Fertility Awareness Week. So talk to us a little bit about that. I loved all the different stories. I dove into that a little bit, and it was just really inspiring and amazing. So what made you guys do that? And talk to me a little bit about some of the stories. What were some of the ones that stood out the most?
Thanks for asking. I mean, that's something I'm so close to and passionate about too. So for NIAW, that's how I'll call it. So we don't have to say infertility. Well, I do have to say infertility because we created this hashtag infertility looks like. The reason we did that is when we launched Pregnantish, diversity and inclusion was central to our storytelling. And people asked me at the beginning of Pregnantish, why do you have LGBT and singles as a tab on your website? Like, isn't that obvious? It's for everyone. Because it says couples, singles, LGBTQ, which is everyone. People, it's for people.
Right.
And I said, no, I need to parse it out so that singles know they have a space here and storytelling here. LGBT know, people of color know, men know, because this cannot be a one-note story of who is impacted by this. So the campaign really encompassed the many diverse voices that are often left out of the storytelling. Almost 50% of cases is male factor infertility. One of my favorite stories, which we shone a light on. And by the way, media picked it up in a big way.
Yay.
It was great. I mean, we shone a light on Christian Barrero Collin, who had male factor, or still has it actually, male factor infertility, azoospermia. He's an Air Force sergeant. He is serving the country all the time and couldn't get the access he needed for the surgery he needed for treatment. And we first ran a story a few years ago. It was picked up by the New York Times. And I thought, you know what? There's a bigger play here. Like, we're going to use them. We're going to video his story and tell it during NIAW. He's from Puerto Rico. He's one of 7. It was a big deal for him to go public with this story. He had never talked about it publicly before we came out with this. And it was picked up by People magazine. Now Insider's going to run it. So I'm just excited about that because he feels like really stoked. I mean, he's like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to share it originally. And I'm hearing from people all over the place that it's helping. And I'm so glad because this isn't my fault. I was born with this. Why is there a taboo? So that's one of all the 6 stories are my favorite, but just picking out a few. And then we broke the story of ESPN anchor Nicole Briscoe, who's married to a race car driver, Ryan Briscoe. She wrote Pregnantish about a year or two saying, I'm struggling. And we had covered another sports anchor on the platform before. So she had known about our platform and followed us. And we, she kind of came out with us in Glamour magazine, and we did a really great video spotlight on her not knowing she had endometriosis for 10 years. She's gone through more miscarriages, she says, than she can count. Kelly, of course, who went through menopause at 24. And then, Brittany Kane, an African-American woman who was always told not to get pregnant, not that she maybe couldn't, is a great voice. And Dr. Ruhi, and well, I'm telling you all of them. They're all my favorites. So the last one, Tracy Palmer, is a queer fertility advocate, fitness instructor, looks like the model of good health, and went through infertility and pregnancy loss. So I guess every story in this campaign was just so rich to tell. And we started the hashtag infertility looks like. It's still going strong. When NIAW started, there were about 70 people using the hashtag since 2017. Now we're at close to 1,000. And that's awesome. That just means that people want to share the many looks. And how you can't see it is the point of the campaign, actually. Infertility looks like your neighbor, your best friend, you can't see it. So we just want to bring this to the larger I mean, my goal with Pregnantish is always to bring it outside of the community to support, first and foremost, people struggling. But the reason we fold in broadcast media constantly is because we need the general public to understand what this is and how this hurts people and how the support we need. There's a lot of education for that as well. So, yeah, so that's that campaign that was supported by First Response Pregnancy. I mean, we couldn't do all these things we're talking about. And, because you're also sponsor supported on your podcast, we can't do everything we do without industry support. So I'm really grateful to that because, we want to keep shining a light on this.
For sure. Oh my goodness. And every one of those stories, I watched them all and they were all amazing and definitely could not pick one of my favorites. So I don't expect you to either.
Yeah.
Tell our audience, where can they see all of that? Where can they see all of these stories? Is it on Pregnantish?
It is on Pregnantish, but the easiest way, if you remember, is pregnantish.com/infertility looks like. Or if you go to pregnantish.com, NIAW21, I think is the tab at top where you could find the content. It's going to be a regular part of Pregnantish. It was just too powerful not to continue shining a spotlight on the voices. And, I think like we are everywhere you could find pregnant, the name Pregnantish. So
yes.
We own the trademark. So it's usually us. On Twitter, there's someone who owns the word Pregnantish who hasn't posted in like 6 or 7 years. We can't reach her. So on Twitter, we're Pregnantish Mag, but we actually own the word Pregnantish. So it's pretty easy to find us.
I love that. And you guys have a wonderful Instagram and obviously your platform and websites and we'll put all of that in the show notes. So it'll be really easy to find for all our listeners.
Awesome.
And I just loved our conversation, Andrea. Thank you so much for being here. It's just been an honor to get to know you and get to talk to you.
Oh, likewise. I so appreciate what you're doing. And thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. And I would love to hear any final thoughts, any words of advice or encouragement for, people walking through this journey right now.
I would say, and it's something if you've known me, you've heard me say before, but I think it's worth repeating. I often say that you don't need to know the what. Let me try that again. Sorry. I often say that you don't need to know the where, the how, or the when. You just need to know the what, that you want to become a parent. And if you know the what and you're open to the possibilities, there is a path to get there. I also just want to say, we have a newsletter, we have support. Please keep in touch. We have an app coming. Hopefully you'll be on there.
Yes.
We have an app coming, end of this year, early next year. It's going to be free. I just want the community to know that there is a beautiful community of people to support them, and that they're not alone.
For sure. That was my last thought too. You do not have to walk this alone. So thank you for saying that. Today's show is sponsored by Temp Drop. Temp Drop. Know your cycle, understand your body. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. So make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.